If you're familiar with this channel and the content that I regularly release, you'll know that I create a lot of videos showing you how to make the WordPress dashboard look less WordPressy. Now, while it's not totally necessary to get your hands dirty making custom dashboards, custom panels, and editing files to get what you may want, you could still want to get a more modern look for your dashboard. Step into the picture a plugin called Admin 2020. Now, this WordPress plugin not only changes the look of the WordPress dashboard, but it also adds a lot of extra functionality that you normally have to use several separate plugins for. So for example, you can manage all of your media through the use of folders, battery naming, editing them, etc. You can also do a very similar thing with the content. You can structure things. It's very useful. But what else does it do? Well, lots of things, including things like editing the standard dashboard menus based upon user roles. Very, very useful. Now, as you can see, if you're looking for a replacement dashboard with extra functionality without the need to install 3 or 4 extra plugins, Admin 2020 may be the perfect candidate for you. But is it any good? Well, let's install it and take a look. Now, before we get started, if you want to jump around to any point on this topic that I've covered, there are timestamps in the description below for you. Okay, before we get started, let's just quickly take a look at the Admin 2020 website. Take a look at the pricing before we even take a look at the dashboard so you know exactly what you're working with. So this is the Admin 2020 site. As you can see, it gives us a breakdown of all the information, the new media library features, the content page features. If you want to sort of pull in and use the dark mode, you can do that, notification center, lots of really useful things. However, let's take a look at the pricing side of things. As you can see, $20 for a single site, $60 for 5 sites, and $80 for unlimited sites. This is for a 12-month period with full support and updates included in that period. So on top of the pricing, you also have the option for if for any reason you don't like it, you can get a 14-day money-back guarantee on it. I'm not associated, affiliated, or getting a kickback. I've paid for this myself because a number of people on the YouTube channel have asked me to take a look at it and create some content. So I've got no affiliation. If you want to buy it, by all means buy it. If you don't, no problem whatsoever. Okay, so now with that out of the way, we've seen the pricing. Let's take a quick look at where we activate it. So I'm going to come back into my test dashboard, and as you can see, it's the normal default WordPress dashboard. Let's activate Admin 2020. Once we do that, you can see we immediately get a completely new, different, fresh look. Now, whether you like this look is obviously entirely up to you. There are certain aspects that I'm not overly impressed with. There's a couple of glitchy things in there that I think could be ironed out, you know, positions of some text and some buttons and so on. But overall, it is a drastic improvement over the normal WordPress dashboard. Now, if you don't like this dark mode, you don't have to have dark mode. You can easily come in and just have it like this, which is what you would see when you normally logged in without switching that over. Okay, so this isn't a full tutorial on how to use it because I don't think you need a tutorial on it. It's pretty self-explanatory. I just want to show you the features and give you an idea what I think of it and if you think it's something you'd be interested in yourself. Okay, so let's just jump over into the overview first of all. So this is much the same as you'd have with the default WordPress dashboard. However, it is much cleaner. You can disable or enable any of the features that are listed here. So that's really nice to see. A couple of things that are notable right at the start though. First of all, we've got a search. So we can come in and search across all the things we have on our site. So things like our posts, our pages, our categories. We can apply filters and you can see this will filter everything. So let's just say I want to search for pillar and we say apply filters. There we go. So we've got the pillar content, at which point we can then go and take a look at it and edit it. It tells us it's a post. So nice to have that in there. Not such an issue if you have a small site. If you have a large site with multiple users, you can filter based upon the user, all those kinds of really useful bits of information. So great to have a search throughout your entire site. So I like to see that. You can see it's kind of branded as well. So we've got this logo up in the top left-hand corner as opposed to the normal WordPress. And as you can see, there's nothing really on here to say that this is WordPress. It's up to you whether you are bothered by that when you offload this to a client. If this is a client-facing side of things you want to do, or if it's for yourself, doesn't really matter too much. But you can enable or disable the white label side of things, so you can have full control over all of that. Okay, so that's the search, that's the overview. If we go take a look at the dashboard, you can see we've got the dashboard home, which will give us some information, and as you can see, this is going to give us some rank math information. And you can, if you want to, plug this into Google Analytics, and you can get analytical information with some nice charts and things directly inside here. So if you do have a client and you want to give them access to their Google Analytics, you could link the two together. They log into a nice looking dashboard and they have that nice sort of view of their basic data. So going on to some of the things I was talking about that I think just need that little bit of refinement and kind of just let this down. If you take a look at these stats, you can see it says log count 8, hits 8, counts, and hits 0. The space is missing between the end of the term and the number. Little things like that make a big difference, and if you ask me, they're one of those things that do let this otherwise pretty impressive piece of software down. Now, this might be one of those areas that doesn't bother you in the slightest. For me, it's just a little bit frustrating when you have so many other very good features. Now, speaking of features, let's take a look at the content option, which is a unique feature. If we open that up, you can see this will show us all of the content, and we can view this in various different ways. Now, this is just a test site. There's nothing really much on here. So you can see we can view things in a list format. We can view them in a sort of section like this. We've got folders down the left-hand side. We've got filters, so we can filter this on lots of different things. We can order them. We can filter them by month or year. Or if we have multiple users, we can also take a look and filter them by username. You can also create folders to group your content into. Now, this doesn't have any effect on the actual structure of your website itself or how it operates. It's purely from a organizational point of view inside the dashboard, which is a really nice way of working. So let me just collapse this menu so I have a little bit more room. And as you can see, we have these 4 options. Let's just create a new folder. So let's just click new folder, and we're just going to say, we'll call this pillar content. For example, we'll set that to be red tag, and we'll say create that. You can see that's our folder created. And now let's just create another one, and we just say this is going to be blue in color, and we'll just say this is standard posts, for example. Okay, and create that. And now you can simply just drag and drop content into any of those folders. So we'll drop this into standard posts, give that a second or so, and you can see that just adds them into those relevant folders. Now, there is something that is kind of annoying. I don't know if this is just down to me, but you can see we now have this sort of loading bar at the top that just keeps on going around and around and around, even though nothing's actually happening. That's one thing that's a little bit annoying. The second thing is that you can't actually move anything out of these folders. So, well, if you want to set these back to not being in a folder whatsoever, you can't. So you can't drag them to all. You can't drag them to uncategorized. You can't delete these folders, not from here anyway. So it's kind of a little bit frustrating. It's a nice idea, but in all honesty, it's not executed that well. So now I need to refresh this page to stop that loading bar appearing at the top. Kind of frustrating. Okay, so that's the content side of things. Let's come back to our menu. Now, if we go to posts, you can see we go to all posts, for example. It looks pretty much exactly the same as we used to. The only difference is it's visual. Nothing is actually changed in the way that you work. You've still got all your normal editing, your quick edits, and so on. So if we wanted to, we can edit. Come in and take a look. You can see everything is laid out exactly the same. Nothing untoward in there. Now, media has some extra options inside there unless you disable this feature. So let's just jump into the media, and you can see we get that folder structure down the left-hand side. But also notice that the folder structure with the pillar content and the standard posts that I just created inside the content area are also evident inside here, which is a little bit confusing. I would like to see those being separate entities, that you can organize things into pillar content inside the content side of things, which would be just your posts and pages and so on. Then your media is totally separate. I can see the logic in it, I suppose, because you could put your pillar content graphics and assets like that inside there, and they would sort of reside alongside your actual written content. But for me, I would prefer to have the option to have them totally separate. You can see we have the same options, we have the same kinds of filters, all those kinds of things are available. So let's just close this down. So this is our media library. This is the new version of the media library. You can see we can filter things based upon the media type. So we've got your photographs, you've got video, audio, PDFs. If you want to, you can easily choose to batch rename things, which is great. It's really good to see that you can batch rename all these files, and you can switch your views over so you can see it in different kinds of views. Now, I like what they're doing inside here, because like I said, this is one of those things that it does then remove the need for another plugin, but it just looks ugly. It just looks half-baked. I'm sorry to say, this is another one of those things. It's like, it just doesn't look finished to me. Yeah, I'm a little disappointed with this side of things. But you can disable it and go back to the normal options. So, for example, if you come into the settings option and you come to Admin 2020, you'll see when we scroll down, we have the option for use the default media gallery from WordPress. We can select that and save it. Then we go back to our media gallery and back into our library. You can see, well, it looks similar at the moment. When we switch it over to this view, for example, it looks a bit more familiar, or we can go to the list view. This just looks neater, where you've got these sort of separations, each item in its own separate row. But again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier on, where there's just that little attention to detail is missing. So you look at the top now, we've got the all dates, the filter, the search, and all those kinds of things. It all just looks too squashed up. Like I said, I don't know if this is something to do with when I'm using Chrome or something to do with my specific setup, but there's just little things that I think are just letting it down at the moment. It's like 95% of the way there, but that little 5% of polish in some areas is missing. And then in other areas, it's absolutely fantastic. So I just think they need to really concentrate on tidying those final little steps up to make sure everything just looks as good as it can, operates as good as it can, because it has so much potential. Okay, so for me, I prefer this option when it comes to the media library. Personal preference. Okay, pages. It's going to be exactly the same as what we saw when it comes to posts. Everything's laid out in exactly the same fashion. Now then, let's come down and take a look at some of the other things we have, because in settings, that's where we're going to find out lots of the ways we can customize and configure this the way that we want it to be. So let's just jump into the settings. Go into Admin 2020 and you can see we have all these options down the left hand side, and each one of these has a ton of different options inside there. So configuring this to get what you want might take a little while, but once you've done that, if you're going to use this on multiple sites, it's nice to see you've got the import and export option, so you can set things up to the way you like it. And then if you want to use that again and again and again on different sites, if you have an unlimited license, well, you can just export that and then import it into your second site, your third site, and so on. So that's really nice to see. Okay, so disable admin user 2020 by user role. You can see we can just enable who has access to admin 2020 and who would see the normal default WordPress access. Then we've got disable admin menu search, overview page for the admin homepage. You know, most of these things are going to be fairly self-explanatory. The admin bar, for example, do you want to have those on there? Do you want to show screen options? Disable them. Post types available in search. And this is really cool. This is something that's really nice. If, like me, you use tools like advanced custom fields or you have custom post types, you can enable or disable those inside Admin 2020. So at the moment, we only have the option for posts and pages. You see my templates is disabled. But if we had custom post types, we could then select those to make those available as well. That's pretty cool. I like that. Again, it's another one of those things that why I say this has so much potential. Okay, disable the loading bar in the admin bar. Yes, please. That's kind of annoying. And you can see load admin menu style on the front end. Just play about with these. Just see what they look like, how you like them. If you want to get rid of things like profile links and update links and all those, you can get rid of those things. So let's just save those changes. Let's go into appearance. And this is where we can set up our custom logo, an optional logo for dark mode. So obviously you had a dark logo on a light background would look good, wouldn't look so good on a dark background. You know, you can do those things. Your login background image. So you have a custom login page on here as well. So that's quite cool. And we can customize certain aspects of that. Now, because we have the ability to easily set things up for a custom login, we no longer need to use a third-party plugin to do that kind of thing. So again, one less plugin we need to worry about. The overview page. So this is pretty much the kind of landing page of the dashboard. When you come in, this will show you your total posts and all those kinds of things. So you can enable or disable anything you want inside there. Your content page, much the same as we just saw. Do you want to disable that content page? What post types do you want to use inside there? For me, I think it's got potential, but like I say, I think it still needs some refinement. So I will probably disable that for this particular time. Menu editor. Now this is very, very useful. You can customize every single aspect of your menu. And again, this is another plugin you no longer need to install. So if we open up the overview, for example, you can see we've got settings and submenus. If you want to create submenus, for example, you want to rename this. So if you don't want to have it as overview, you want to name it as something completely different, you can do that. You can change the icon that's being used. And as you can see, there are a lot of icons. So again, you can customize this to fit into your own styling. Then you've got the option for hidden for roles. In other words, do you want to hide this particular menu item for a specific role, which is pretty cool. You can do that. You can disable admin 2020 on this page completely. So that would be totally disabled. And you can see you can do this for every part of that left-hand menu. So right the way from overview, right the way down to your custom fields. They're all inside there for you. So pretty cool to see you can customize all of that. Google Analytics, all you need to do is sign in with your Google Analytics account, link it up to the specific account you want to pull in the data from, and then you'll have that available to you on the dashboard. Finally, we have advanced. This is where you can drop in any custom CSS or custom JS into here to customize it even further. So, you have even more customization options. So if you're a bit more of an advanced user and you want to use this as the basis and still add some more extra functions or customize the look of things in a specific kind of way, well, you have those options directly inside here. That's my first look at the Admin 2020 custom admin dashboard theme for WordPress. I think it certainly provides a fresh look to the WordPress dashboard, and a lot of the styling features and setup are top notch. But it is somewhat let down by a couple of little graphical and functionality shortcomings. Now, I'm going to pass this over to you. What are your thoughts on Admin 2020? Do you already use it, and what have your experiences been with it? If not, have you considered using it? Let me know in the comments section below, as I'd love to know your thoughts about it. As always, all of the applicable links are in the description below, and if you found value in this video, give it a thumbs up, as that really helps the YouTube algorithm. If you didn't feel you got any value though, feel free to hit that thumbs down button twice, as that works pretty well too. My name is Paul C, this has been WPTuts, and until next time, take care.